Hi guys! Today's video is going to be my May TBR, which I like filming before my wrap-ups. That way if you guys haven't decided what you're going to read for the upcoming month yet, and you see something that I'm hoping to read, you can potentially buddy read with me. As most of you know, this last month I was gone for 2 whole weeks on a trip to Iceland, so I didn't really get to read a ton this last month, which means my TBR for next month is massive. I by no means actually expect myself to read all the books that I'm going to show you guys. I just figured if I show you more options, then that way if you see something you're interested in and you want to buddy read, I can put that at the top of the list. The flaw in this plan is if everybody wants to buddy read, but you all want to buddy read different stuff. But I don't really see that happening since some of these books are like in the middle of a series. That being said, I'm actually going to mention books first that are the first in their series. That way, if you want to buddy read, you're not just like being shown books that you would have to read 3 books first before you could read that one. Anyway, the first book on the list is Long May She Reign by Rhiannon Thomas. I believe I mentioned this in one of the many book hauls that I pre-recorded when I was gone, but this is a book that I picked up. I heard a few people talk about it saying they thought it was good, and I read the back of the book and it completely sold me. It's not that the synopsis necessarily gives you a ton of information about the book, it's just done really well, so I'll read it to you so you see what I'm talking about. If I claimed my supposed throne, I'd be sticking out my neck for anyone to take a swing, and if I failed to hold the crown, ... But if I didn't claim the throne, I'd still be in danger. Who would leave the rightful heir alive if they wanted to control the throne themselves? I think that's super vague, but it sounds awesome, so I'm excited to jump into this. It's not particularly long, and I've been kind of wanting to read more like middle-ish amount of pages in books because when you get caught up in a series or in really long books, sometimes it just feels so daunting to read and make your TBR lists because it's like every book usually in a series gets even longer. So I like that this is not that long. The next book on the list is similar to the last one in that it is the first in a series and it's also not super long, and that would be The Blood Rose Rebellion by Rosalind Eves. This was a book I picked up not because I heard anybody talking about it necessarily, but because I went exploring in the bookstore and was like, I want to find something I haven't heard a lot about. And then I found this one, I read the synopsis, it was the first one I picked up, and I thought, yeah, that sounds cool, I'm gonna get it. It follows a girl named Anna in high society Britain who is supposed to be able to use magic and for some reason can't. And then there's an accident one day, she gets the attention of a lot of elite magic wielders, and then they send her back to Hungary where her family is originally from. The next one on my list I am so excited for because it's my very first graphic novel, and that would be Vision by Tom King, and the artist's last name is Walta. In case you're wondering, yes, this is supposed to be Vision from the Avengers. Apparently the story is that Vision decides he wants to like move to the suburbs and have a family. And apparently, despite the fact that that plot sounds very simplistic, my husband tells me it's incredibly sad. I'm actually going to mention the next 2 on my list at the same time, even though they have nothing to do with each other. And that would be Truthwitch by Susan Dennard and Roseblood by A.G. Howard. I'm mentioning these together because they're kind of an either-or situation. I think I'm either going to read Truthwitch or Roseblood. Roseblood is a Phantom of the Opera retelling, and Truthwitch is a story about, I believe, these 2 females that are friends, and one of them has the power to discern if people are telling the truth, and one of them has the power to like see the connections between people. I'm definitely interested in both of these, but I think I'm leaning towards Truthwitch right now only because I know that Truthwitch has a sequel and I have its sequel up there. And I kind of want to get with it and start reading these. So if you guys have a preference though, I'm happy to read either. The last first book on my list is 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I'm sure a lot of you already know what 6 of Crows is about. It's kind of a merry band of misfits and criminals who are banded together to go try and pull off this impossible heist. I've heard almost everybody say nothing but praise about these. I've heard very little complaints about it, and I've been wanting to read it for a really long time, but I was waiting until I finished the Grisha trilogy, which I did a while ago, and characters from that apparently show up in this. So now that I'm done with that series, I really want to finally get to this one. Moving on now from the first books and into books that are parts of a series. The first one I'm going to mention I might actually read in April. There's still a few days in April at the time that this is uploaded, so I might get to it, but that would be Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. If I am able to get to that one, then I might pick up Empire of Storms this upcoming month, but obviously Sarah J. Maas has like a lot of books, and I feel kind of bad constantly reading Sarah J. Maas books on my channel. I just really want to get through her series so that I can pick up other stuff, and I don't want to neglect it for a while because then I'll forget all the political stuff and the characters and everything. So I'm kind of regretful that I'm constantly reading Maas's books, but I just really want to get done with them. Speaking of Sarah J. Maas's books, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses this last month, and obviously I gotta get around to A Court of Mist and Fury because A Court of Wings and Ruin comes out really soon. The next one is one of the Witcher books. I mention Witcher all the time on my channel. It is about a monster hunter named Geralt of Rivia, and it's awesome, and I love it. There are 2 books that precede the actual series itself, and then there's the series. This is book 3 in the series, which means I've already technically read 4 books in this series. But I love Witcher, and I love the world of Witcher. It's written very differently because it is translated from the Polish language. It's written by Andrzej Sapkowski. Again, I feel kind of bad reading the same books when there are other books out there that I really want to get started with, but I don't want to forget what happens in this. Same situation as the Throne of Glass stuff, but I really want to get around to it. If I don't end up reading Queen of Shadows, I'll probably end up reading this one here in the last few days of April. And finally, the last book on my list, which I told you guys was going to be impossibly long, and that would be A Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. I meant to pick up Queen of Shadows or the other Witcher book, and when I got back from Iceland, I was like, no, I want to read something different. And I looked at my bookshelf and I saw the first Red Queen book, and I was like, yeah, that's the one. That's one I want to read. I've heard great things about that series. I've heard it's a little cliche, but it looks and sounds pretty awesome, so I'm going to pick it up. And you know what? I was thinking about it, and I really liked that book. I don't really understand why everybody says this series is super cliche. The first one starts out, when I first started reading it, I thought it felt a little bit more closer to the middle grade part of young adult, and then as I kept reading, that kind of went away. It does hit some points over and over again. After a while, you're like, okay, I get it. The reds are lesser than the silvers. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, in this series, there are people with red blood and there are people with silver blood. The silver are kind of like the ruling class. They have magical abilities, and reds are not supposed to have any abilities, but that might be a plot point in the book. There's also a rebellion, there is a ton of political intrigue, and there is some backstabbing and betrayal, and maybe a plot twist depending on if you see it coming or not. So I really enjoyed the first one. I'm excited to eventually get to the second one. And I think in regard to if you guys have heard the same things as I have, that this series is cliche, I honestly feel that if you're hesitant to read it because of that, just go for it. It was a little in the beginning. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but by the end I thought it was really good. Anyway, there you go guys, that's my massive TBR list that I am most definitely not going to be able to read all of, but like I said, I wanted to have as many options as possible because recently I've just been like enticed by books that aren't on my TBR, and I'm hoping that by having a really big TBR list that won't happen. Also, like I said, I love buddy reading, so I wanted to put as much stuff out there in case you guys see something that piques your interest and you want to buddy read it too. As for Vision, I am going to be buddy reading this with ThatBookie, whose channel I'll link down below. I've buddy read with her before. She's awesome, and she also has super cute candles, so I'll link her Etsy shop in case you want to see some cute bookish themed candles. As a reminder, I also have a giveaway going on. Details to that will be linked in the video I have down below in the description bar. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the little bell icon so you get notified when I post new videos, and check out some of my videos right over here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!